This week's lecture will focus on how you will begin implementing your plan. We will discuss the importance of data in ABA and how to visually analyze graphs to determine if change is occurring in target behaviors. ABA depends on data to guide all decisions. Data collection, visual analysis of graph data, and its application to decision making are the cornerstones of ABA. We will discuss how ABA practitioners use data to inform and guide their decisions, and how you will use data to design and monitor your self-management project. By now, you have started collecting baseline data. Baseline refers to recording the instances of target behavior before any intervention is initiated. We often try to obtain 5 to 7 days of baseline data or until data appears stable. There are times where a behavior occurs so frequently that you'll be able to obtain sufficient baseline data after only 3 sessions. Other times, the behavior may occur so infrequently or in such a variable way that a longer baseline is needed. This slide demonstrates some ways baseline data may be present. Sometimes we will be lucky and have very stable baseline phases, like in the first image. Other times, we may see a trend in the data where the behavior is going up or going down. This will give the practitioner pause before implementing any intervention. The same can be said for the final image of the very unstable baseline data. When data shows an increasing, decreasing, or is unstable, we may never be confident that our intervention has actually had any effect. The intervention phase refers to the period of time in which we initiate some sort of behavior change strategies. We then use the data collected in the baseline phase to compare. This will help decide whether or not our intervention is having any impact on the behavior. This image shows a simple reversal design. The baseline condition is the start, then the intervention stage is introduced, then the researchers remove the intervention as a return to baseline. This is to demonstrate experimental control. If the behavior data returns to similar patterns as seen in the first baseline, the experimenter can be a little bit more confident that their intervention is the reason for the behavior change. Keeping careful data records is key to making good decisions. Bad data will make us make bad decisions. Some tips to keep in mind for recording data are: use prompts to remind you to take the data. Use a sticky note, alarm on your phone, string tied to your finger, anything to remind you to collect data. Record each instance of behavior as soon as it happens. The longer you wait to record, the more likely it is that you will forget or that you will misrepresent part of the data. 3. Use reinforcement. Reward yourself for good record keeping. This is a new behavior, and we have to remember that new behaviors need pretty consistent schedules of reinforcement to start off. 4. Make it easy. Keep materials handy or use a handheld device that you have on your person anyways. Don't set up systems that are going to require a great deal of work, effort, or bulky materials. 5. Always track the date and sometimes the time when you record your data. You will need this as you summarize your data into graph form. This can also reveal problem areas that may require additional tactics in your plan. Maybe you see that you are always engaging in a behavior you want to reduce right around 3 p.m. That will be good information to have so you can troubleshoot that period of time. In ABA, we use graphs to provide us with a clear picture of behavior change. Rather than using bar graphs or pie charts, we tend to use simple line graphs. On a line graph, the vertical axis is the measurement of behavior, and the horizontal axis represents the passage of time. For your self-management project, graphing per day will be the most appropriate. But it is important to note that the way that we summarize data and display it on a graph can give us a much different picture of even the same raw data. When you've implemented your plan, give it at least a week, if possible, before analyzing the graph. Progress might not be immediately apparent, and for self-management projects, we want to keep the motivation high. When you start to graph, look for trends in the data. Are there general patterns of change in the behavior over time? Is it going up, down? Is it all over the place? It might also be helpful for you to calculate the means for each phase and compare those measures. The text gives you a great deal of detail on how to calculate and use those measures. What are some of the possible problems we might discover when visually analyzing graph data? When we see lots of variability in the data is all over the place. It might be because another variable is at work affecting the behavior. We call this an extraneous variable. An example of this might be someone thinks that their smoking behavior happens only when they are very stressed out, but boredom, hunger, and other variables might also be at work. If we find that there is a decreasing trend in the behavior during baseline, we should really stop and think before doing anything else. Why is that behavior going down? What is at work here? If we were going to start an intervention when the behavior is already reducing, how could we ever know if our intervention had anything to do with it? The same argument is made with increasing baseline trends. We need to really get a better understanding as to what variables are involved in setting the occasion, antecedents, and reinforcing the behavior before we implement a behavior change program. Some of the questions we must consider in order to improve a struggling plan would be: did we identify the real function of the behavior? Are there other functions that we did not consider? Did we identify the most potent reinforcers or punishers? If we don't have powerful reinforcers, we won't have an effective plan. Did we identify the most salient antecedents? Are there other situations or triggers for the behavior that we did not identify? Are we implementing the plan consistently? Did we make it too difficult to implement?